Welcome to This Week in Perspective with me, Adam Simbe. On the 26th of April, the Union of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, known as Tanzania, marked 53 years since the Union came to being in 1964. There are still some basic and fundamental questions lingering on in the minds of many Tanzanians about this Union. To discuss the 53 years of the Union, its strength, weaknesses, successes, if any, and how strong it is at this stage with me, where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going. With me today, on my right, Professor Deodatus Pangara is the Vice Chancellor Academic, Raha University College, part of Santa Gusu University. It's not
Raha Catholic University.
Raha Catholic University at in Iringa, but formerly with the University of Salaam Institute of Development Studies. Mohammad from the People's Bank of Zanzibar is in charge of all the marketing and public relations in the bank. Next is Professor Mohammad Bakari, who is a political scientist from the University of Dar es Salaam, Department of Politics, Public Administration. Last but not least, a famous journalist in his own right, Balile, is the vice chairman of the Tanzania Editors Forum, but he's also, I think, you are editor or whatever of Jamhuri newspaper, a weekly newspaper.
Indeed.
All right. So, gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's just give these 55 minutes a due share of what is expected of the program and help the audience there, the public there, the viewers, a better understanding of the union issues at 53. So welcome again.
Thank you.
Now, I'll start with you, Professor Mohammad Bakari, but the rest of you will have to respond also to the same question. At 53, is the union, I'm using the word mature, stronger or weaker? And still purposeful, and I mean, I'm going to move away from English here, it's typical Swahili speaker. Purposeful, I hope this is understandable, purposeful. Are the reasons, the justification, the purposes for which it was established in 1964 still valid today? That's the actually further elaboration of the word purposeful. Professor Mohammad Bakari, can you set the ball rolling?
Thank you. In my view, I think the union is stable today on one aspect, and on other aspects it is not stable. Let me start with the positive side of it. The fact that it has been able to survive for 53 years is one of the good indicators of strength. Despite the existence of so many problems it faces, but the mere fact that it has been surviving amidst problems that has been affecting it since its inception, and the fact that so many countries in Africa and elsewhere that tried to have these kind of unions failed. For example, in Africa, there are some examples in the 60s or 70s of countries that tried to have some kind of a union and failed, like Senegambia. So the mere fact that it has been able to survive for that period, the duration of 53 years, is a measure of success to a certain degree. But the main aspect also of success and strength is the level of integration of the people. It is true that the people of Zanzibar and the people of Tanganyika had been integrated before the union. But as a result of the union, the kind of integration, social intermingling, economic intermingling, economic interactions between the people of Zanzibar and the people of Tanganyika has been so extensive. So in those particular aspects, we can say that the union has been doing relatively well. But on the other side, it also displays some features of weaknesses. That after 53 years of the union, there are still some Tanzanians, quite a significant number of them, who think that
In both parts?
from both parts of the union, from Zanzibar and from the mainland, who strongly feel that the kind of problems that we are facing within the union are so substantial such that we need to kind of have to restructure the form of the union, or to have a different structure of the union, as it was reflected by the findings of the various commissions that were established to collect views of the people and synthesize the views of the people and come up with their own recommendations, starting with the Nyalali Commission in 1991, the Kisanga Committee in 1998, and recently the Warioba Commission that was preceding the process that was under the process of the review for a new constitution. So I would say as a whole that there are both positive sides and negative sides, but on the whole I would say that it is relatively strong, and the fact that those sections of the people that are not happy with the union, very few of them are demanding for the dissolution of the union. They are demanding the restructuring of the union. So this is an indication of strength, that if you have a substantial number of the population who believe that this is a good thing to continue with it, then that is an indication of success. Although there are voices that are agitating for the breakup of the union, but those voices are not as strong as those voices that are advocating for the consolidation of the union.
Okay, we'll come back as we go around. Professor Gaudens Mpangala, what's the reaction to this? Is it stronger? Is it weaker? Is it mature? Is it purposeful? Still purposeful?
For me, I can't say that it is stronger or mature, but it was supposed to be stronger, and it was supposed to be much more mature than it is. And for me, as a historian, I look at the union in its three phases of development. The first phase was when it was established in 1964, I can say up to 1990, under the system of one party. I regard that as the system of construction and the building of the union. And because of that, the decisions of Mwalimu Nyerere and Karume to make sure that the union starts with a two-government system was very relevant
at that point.
At that point, because that was the early phase of building and constructing the union. The conditions of that time were such that it became necessary to have a two-government system. The second phase, I regard it as the phase of democratization.
Okay, that's the multi-party introduction.
Introduction of multi-party, demanding for more democracy, opening up space. You see, this is the second phase of the union, and it has survived that period under multi-party system. I take that as the second phase. We have multi-party competition, we have been having elections, and the union has continued to survive under that condition. The third phase is the present. And this phase demands, for me, I would regard that's the period of what we have said, maturing and consolidation of the union.
Okay.
And that maturing and consolidation required a new structure.
Uh-huh.
You can't have three phases with the same structure, so that it can mature and consolidate and become more prosperous. It requires changes. And one of the substantial changes is the restructuring of the union. That's why the process of constitution making was very clear, that they discussed the views of the people and came up with that recommendation that now time has come that the union must change into 3 government system instead of 2 government system.
In order to survive.
In order to survive,
and
in order to mature, and in order to become more prosperous. More prosperous. In order to become more prosperous.
Okay.
And the fear that 3 government system will break the union is I don't think it's a genuine fear, because a 3 government system would have made the union stronger and more prosperous, and the people of both sides enjoying more freedom.
Is that Professor, is that the federal system which was thought to be in the minds of the founders, Mwalimu Nyerere and President Mzee Abeid Amani Karume, initially? Do you think that's what you're talking about? That's the kind of structure you're talking about? The federal structure?
Yeah, the federal structure is the most appropriate now. You know, sometimes we in African countries, because we don't trace history. Nyerere and Kwame Nkrumah, for instance, were champions of one party system. But they did not deny the importance of multi-party system. Okay. It is very clear. They said it very clearly, both of them, that time is not ripe for multi-party. But multi-party is important.
Yeah. But it will come.
Both of them. Although Nyerere did not set on the union structure, but I'm sure in his mind that time will come for a federal system of the union. But now, let us have a 2-government system.
It's not documented that it
is not documented, but the way I understand Nyerere being a progressive thinker. That's why during the time of multi-party debate,
yes,
he was the one who came up openly. Tanzanians, let us now, time has changed. Let us now move towards multi-party system.
Although
he was
the report recommended for 1-party system, almost 81%, isn't that so? If I'm that's right. Recommended for 1-party system. But Mwalimu said no, even the minority should hear them.
Yeah,
it was 77 point something percent.
77 point something, he said. I was in that commission. That is.
Oh, you were?
That is.
So here he's a participant of the late Judge Narai's committee.
Yeah, that's it. I think Mwalimu was, I just wanted to contribute a little bit of that, was somewhat pragmatic. I had the opportunity to ask a question, to ask Mwalimu a question. I think it was in 1998 or 99. Short period before his death. Yeah. He visited Germany when I was there, yeah, and I asked him a question. With all the problems that we have been facing with the current structure of the union of 2 governments, wouldn't you think that now is the appropriate time to rethink of a new structure? And he said, well, I think that might be a possibility that could be considered if one day we could have a political federation of West Africa.
He said that?
He said that, yes.
And I'm sure it's recorded in German. I mean, all those.
Yeah, I think I wrote it I wrote a chapter in a book. I think I indicated it.
Okay. All right, Professor, did you want to continue or I move to the young man?
I will come.
You'll come back. Deo, would you mind if you can wait for a while?
It's okay.
Let's give the first chance to the young person, young man who is participating for the first time.
Please.
Mohammad,
Yes, sir.
you heard the response of Professor Bakari and Professor Mpangala on the same question. What is your take on this? What would you say to this?
Thank you very much. First of all, when the professors speak, you have to listen very well, and you definitely have to respect their views.
Yes.
We agree on a number of issues. All of them have agreed that the union is stronger. All of us have agreed that the union is still relevant.
But no.
All of us.
1 minute. Professor Mpangala qualified. It is stronger, but it should have been much stronger.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So still strong.
Okay.
And it's still purposeful. I would say yes to all those. The union is still strong and is still thriving, because the fact that, as we all have agreed, the fact that it has existed for 53 years now is a testament to its strength. And as days go on and forth, we are still coming more together. I would like to point out the fact that the Union of Tanzania is not just the union of two governments of two countries. This is more or less a union of two bloods. Two people have come as one. Right now, almost everybody has relations in the other side of the union. Personally speaking, I have relations in the mainland. And there are people in the mainland, by that virtue in itself, they have relations in Zanzibar and elsewhere. So our union has brought us together culturally. Our union has brought us together economically. Our union has brought us together academically, I can say that. And I am amongst those who are lucky enough to be born in the union. I was schooled in the union and employed during the union is still here. So in these aspects, I would say the union is stronger, the union is purposeful, and our union is a shining beacon in the world, because we are here standing strong, we are here solving our issues amicably. Tanzania is still one of the peaceful countries. When you mention countries which are peaceful, Tanzania, you have to mention it. Yes, we have our challenges here and there, but which country does not have their challenge? Yet Tanzania is still safe. We can still do what we want to do in Tanzania. Employment is still there. Investors are still coming to Tanzania. So our union is bringing this strength on board in terms of security, in terms of economy, in terms of employment opportunities for our citizens. Our union is there, our union is looking after us, and our union is stronger in those aspects.
Is it mature?
Yes, and it's
How
still
mature is
maturing.
it?
If it were a human being, I would say it's in the age of 45. That is when your mind starts coming down and you start focusing in the long-term plans.
Yes.
So if it were a human being, I would say it's in the age of 45, old enough to be contesting for the presidency of Tanzania.
Now it's 53.
It is at 53. I just compared it to a human being.
All right. Wait, sorry. Where do you refer to the blood relationship between mainlanders or Tanganyikans and Zanzibaris, and there is this intermarriage, the social interaction that makes it stronger? What would you say on the fact, for example, that the Scottish and the English are more or less the same? You have relatives in Scotland, English relatives, you have Scottish relatives in England, but then the Scottish are striving to say, I'm sorry, enough is enough, we can't be ruled from White House.
It's true, but what happened to the referendum? They decided to stay. You know, there's this thing that the voice of certain few people, but they're shouting louder. So these are the people that get heard. When, in case of Scotland, they asked for a referendum, if I'm not mistaken. And what did the people decide? We want to stay. So the same case could be in Tanzania. There are those few who are asking for dissolution, which are very few, and most of these have their own political agenda behind it.
Yes.
And there are those few who are asking for a three-tiered system.
They want the union, but a restructured union, like the third stage, which Professor
The third
said.
stage, yes.
All
There are
right.
those few asking for the third stage.
Yeah.
Professor has his reasons, but a number of these people, if you ask them why, you'll rarely get a a significant response. And there are those few like us who saying that status quo is good enough. Yes, we got issues, but these issues are being solved. And these issues will continue being solved. As there will always be issues with any other man-made system. Mind you, the union is man-made. So there will always be issues coming on board. And these issues have always been solved. We will be solving them as they come. So the union is relevant and matured enough.
You are a union-born young man.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Deo Balile. You know the views of the three.
Yeah.
The young man, yeah?
My role is reporting. And now I'm asked to discuss. Well, if I look at the union, first of all, I would like to say that, to put it, a worshipper of being in the union. If you ask me, I would like to see Africa one day. People are moving freely from Freetown to Mogadishu, from Cape Town to Cairo, free of hindrances. That's what I dream
From
of.
Tanzania.
From Tanzania to Gambia. Like, I would love to compare the Western Union, but it has a lot of encumbrances as of now. When you look at the Brexit, what, I don't think it's a good example anymore. But I want Africa free of barriers. We want free movement of people. We want free flow of capital. We want everything that you would think of having in a unitary state to prevail across Africa.
Yeah.
And I look at our union from three perspectives. The first one is socially, which I may say we are stronger in that area. The social fabrics are well connected, where we have intermarriages, people are moving from one point to the other. And our ancestors, Mwalimu Nyerere and the Sheikh Abeid Amani Karume, where they left us is where we should be taking from to advance the agenda. For them, the major concern was security. So they tried their best to make those people from Zanzibar and those from Tanganyika, the Tanganyikan and Zanzibaris, to integrate socially, to create a social fabric which is unshakable. But now, they left behind the political and the economic elements. Politically, I would say yes, we have advanced, but that's the epicenter of our problems. We have those who would like to be seen more, to gain international representation, to receive the guard of honor, and so forth. But economically, we have not invested enough. Just imagine if we had a plant in Zanzibar, manufacturing or assembling cars, where we would have been having a lot of young boys and women running to Zanzibar to secure employment. You wouldn't have been hearing all these noises. But simply because some people are looking at Zanzibar like a lot of people are coming from Zanzibar to come to mainland for securing job, for securing not only employment, but also social gains.
As well as businesses.
Businesses. They find like Zanzibar is no longer profitable to the Tanganyikans. And lucky enough, for the Zanzibaris, at least they are informed. Our union is not properly publicized, I would so put it. If you go to Tandahimba today, if you go to Nkasi today, if you go to Kiaka today, and ask people about the union matters, surprised you will be to find that very few are even aware where there is two different court systems between Zanzibar and Tanzania. And when we say Tanzania, very few can differentiate that Tanzania carries in it with Tanganyika as well. So I think we need the ministry responsible for union matters has a job to be done economically, politically, to make sure that people understand where are we heading to. I know there could be a question coming that Judge Warioba tried to look for the panacea, how to do away with these skirmishes, whether we need continue with a two-tier government, a single-tier government as proposed by President Mwinyi by then in 1994 when he said as a sideway that CCM was contemplating to go for one government instead of two-tier government or three-tier governments. All these can be multiple solutions but need to be contemplated properly before implementing them. Where we stand now, we stand in a better position from there to advance our agendas, be it economically, be it politically, and maybe we should shade the fear. At times, if you look at the Zanzibaris, they would say almost everything was okay until 1992 when we introduced the multi-party system. One of the major grievances from Zanzibar is to find the president of Zanzibar being a minister without a portfolio in the union cabinet. And they say Zanzibar is disregarded that way. But if you listen at the point to which Mwalimu Nyerere decided to convince the Tanzanians to have a running mate instead of continuing the old system, which is granted by the Articles of Union, where it is granted that the president of Zanzibar should be the vice president of the union government. Mwalimu Nyerere tried to argue his case, saying, imagine it happens in Zanzibar, CUF wins and CCM loses, and in Tanganyika CCM wins, and in Zanzibar and the opposition loses. How will you have a cabinet where you have a vice president coming from the opposition party, from the other part of the union, and you have the ruling party from the other part of the union leading the union government? The question was very simple. The president of Zanzibar, or any party which enters into contesting elections in Zanzibar, they go there with their manifestos to save Zanzibar issues in Zanzibar. And when they come to the union, they will be saving the union matters as granted by the Articles of Union. I don't think there is classified information in the union cabinet which should not be heard by other people, because after all, if you look at the etymology, those are our representatives. Had the chances been enough, would have been all presidents, would have been all attending the cabinet meetings. But simply we have decided to use representational system, whereby we elect some people to represent us. They decide on our behalf. So in whatever they do, there is no secret. It should be known to all Tanzanians, regardless of their political affiliation.
Do you think there's secret now?
By that caution which they took,
Yes.
maybe there's something decided in there which they wouldn't like some people to know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Deo, for your further explanation. I know you'd like to come in.
Just on a small point.
Okay, well, put across a small point.
Regarding the economic nature, yes, unfortunately there are a number of voices that are saying that Zanzibar has become a burden to the union. What is Zanzibar contributing in terms of economic structure? I would like to remind the audience and the panelists that Zanzibar has been blessed with tourism as one of its key economic features, and the tourism that is present in Zanzibar cannot be found elsewhere in Tanzania. And I am one of the frequent patrons of a number of these tourism establishments. Believe me, there are a number of people from the mainland employed there. A number. More than 50% of them are employed there. More than 50%. Mention all the big hotels in the tourism sector. Mention a number of the big hotels. For example, Kendra. For example, Breezes, Carrefour, and elsewhere. All these huge establishments have employed quite a number of people from the mainland. Unfortunately, it's not in the motor car or other industrial sectors, but employment is there. I just want to clarify that.
Thank you. I want to come back to you, Professor Bakari. If we look at the union, and you correctly referred to a common thread which has appeared from the late Judge General's commission, Judge Kisanga, and the Warioba Commission leading towards a proposed constitutional amendment, and in the Constituent Assembly, there's one thread there saying it's the structure and that we should have a three-tier government. So, fundamentally, and you're a political scientist, can you help explain this? What is it that we have not resolved fundamentally, or what is the fundamental flaw in the whole structure? Professor Pagala said,
Yes.
First stage, second stage, third stage, and it's the third stage we are in now.
Yes.
So what exactly is it? Could you explain to the people?
Well, I think the first question that you addressed regarding the origin and purpose of the union.
Yes.
It has been rightly put that the main purpose at the beginning was not the economy. It was about security. In the minds of the founders of the union, in the minds of Mwalimu, in the minds of Mzee Karume, their main concern was security. Even the international actors, their main concern was security. It was not about the economy. Now, as the union matures, or is about to mature, it appears that security considerations are still there, of course, and they are relevant. But now it appears that, particularly on the side of Zanzibar, their main concern now seems to be economic development, because management of economy is not a union issue. And if you want to manage your economy effectively, then you'll have a different concept of sovereignty. On the part of the mainland, their concept of sovereignty is that you have one unified sovereign state, and that sovereignty is indivisible. But in the minds of Zanzibaris, particularly those who are in charge of managing the economy, they had a different concept of sovereignty. To them, sovereignty can be divided. You can have sort of parallel sovereignties. For those issues that do not fall under the union bag, then they should have the autonomy, considerable autonomy, to manage those issues regarding the economy. Because the structure that we have now, that is, you have one unitary kind of central authority, That means if you want to manage the sovereignty in a way is a resource. So in the case of Zanzibar, if you want to manage your economy, let's say even the social service sector, if you want to manage the health sector, now in the modern world, effectively, you'll need some kind of autonomy and even some elements of sovereignty. If you want to cooperate with international organizations, you will need some kind of sovereignty, even if it's not absolute sovereignty, but some kind of sovereignty. This reminds me of the incident that happened, for example, in 1993, when Zanzibar decided to join the OIC. It joined the OIC because of economic considerations and because of cultural considerations. But it was told that you have violated the Articles of Union and the Constitution of the United Republic of Tanzania. They wanted to manage their economy, and they thought that by joining the OIC, they would increase the chances of improving their economy. Or suppose, for example, now foreign investors coming to the mainland and those coming to Zanzibar. In the case of mainland, there is no problem. They can be simply licensed to operate throughout the country. But in the case of Zanzibar, there have been some restrictions for companies, those that have been registered in Zanzibar, to operate on the mainland. A good example is, for example, Zantel. They had to wait for quite a long time before they were allowed to operate on the mainland. You see? So you can see that if, as a result of that, they have different concepts of sovereignty. All, in some instances, because they want international recognition, they have been doing things that are seen by the other side that they are violating the Articles of the Union and the Constitution of the United Republic, like, for example, having some of the state symbols, having their own flag, national anthem, receiving foreign leaders and
with gun salute
and so on, things that are irritating, the other side of the Union. So these are things of sovereignty character, And you cannot reconcile this by the current structure of the union. If you want to harmonize this kind of, all things that are related with the East African community now.
Yes.
One of the reasons actually why Tanzania has been lagging behind in the federation process of East Africa is the problem with Zanzibar. There are so many issues that have not been resolved within. So that's why now we are seeing sometimes Kenyans and Ugandans and other partner countries, they don't understand the attitude of Tanzania. They think that these people are not actually
Serious.
positive towards the East African integration.
But Professor,
yeah.
sorry to cut in, we have to be mindful of time. At any rate, all through the 53 years, Zanzibar has been operating as an autonomous part of the union, isn't that so? They have ministry, exactly the same ministries as you have them here.
Yeah.
And of course, there are certain ministries which you say these are these are union ministries, right?
Yes.
But you have Minister of Health, Minister of Economic, Finance and Planning, Minister of Land, Employment. Just as you have them, I wouldn't say Tanganyika because Tanganyika is not seen, it's not there in the union ministry.
Yeah.
So isn't that a bit of autonomy?
No,
They make
that is a
decisions?
kind of like...
They have the what you call the baraza, no, the council, you know.
Yeah.
Baraza la Wakilishi.
Baraza la
National
Wakilishi,
Council.
and then the bunge,
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah.
And they also take part in the union bunge.
Yeah, that's right.
And you remember, if you can recall, you know, some of the Warioba people's comments were that, you know, we have a national union parliament here. Zanzibars have their own. Where's the one for Tanganyika?
Yeah, it's true that there is a certain degree of autonomy.
Yes.
There is a government, there is a president, there is the a legislature, there is a judiciary for Zanzibar, up to the High Court. And it is true that it has been operating in a way in certain issues, I mean, demonstrating that they have a certain degree of autonomy. But quite a number of issues actually are constrained. It's like the way, the kind of autonomy that we are talking of in this, the way it has been operating, is like the autonomy of local government kind of relationship with the central government. Why am I saying this? Is because for certain matters, they do not have recognition. You know, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say the Ministry of Health in Zanzibar. How can they interact with the outside world? They are not recognized, because if there is any assistance coming to Tanzania, it will be to the United Republic of Tanzania. Suppose there are specific projects, assistance or foreign assistance for specific projects for the Ministry of Health of the United Republic of Tanzania, for example. We should not expect that that assistance will go to Zanzibar. No, it's not possible. No.
All right.
If there is, for example, aid in cash, for example, a certain amount of money has been given by, let's say, by a foreign donor, then Zanzibar used to get 3% before 1994, and after 1994 now they get 4.5%. But if there is a specific project, even let's say constructing a road from Mtwara to Mwanza, Zanzibar does not even get, I mean, a single portion of it.
Oh dear. All
But
right.
still there is a Ministry of Infrastructure in
Okay.
Zanzibar.
I know that we want to come in. I was going to
So
ask
that
you
means,
that.
that means those ministries that are not non-union,
If I could
the kind of activities that they are perform are of union nature.
if I could come in a little bit on that.
Quicker be then I'll get
Yeah,
Professor.
as the professor is putting it, it's like Tanganyika is jacketing the union, and the Tanganyika is the union. All along these has been the complaints. But if you look at what Zanzibar is getting, the 4.5%, in terms of if you use the human index, if you use the land index, it's even more than what they deserve. What do I mean? Let's say if we take Tanganyika and Zanzibar inclusive, the population is nearly 50 million. And if we decide that to apportion whatever you get from abroad, percentage-wise, currently Zanzibar is getting 4.5% of foreign aid. If we apportion it through percentage in terms of population, Zanzibar would end up getting 2%. The population in Zanzibar is 1 up to 1.5 million. and in Tanganyika is around 49-50 million. So if you take 50 million as a mean, and apportion whatever you get from abroad, you get 2% per million. Meaning Zanzibar, we end up getting 2% to 3%.
And not 4.
So, and not 4.5 as it stands now. But also, if you look at what Zanzibaris are getting, currently a Zanzibaris is a Tanzanian. But a Tanganyikan is not a Zanzibaris. You can acquire land in Tanganyika, but a Tanganyikan cannot acquire land in Zanzibar. We have cases where Zanzibaris are employed in non-union ministries. We have had ministers who are not Tanganyikan heading Tanganyikan ministries, because we had about 6 to 9 ministries which are connected to the union matters. Yeah. But it happens, we have the Minister of Health in Zanzibar, but you have a deputy minister from Zanzibar or a full minister from Zanzibar heading a Minister of Health for the union, which is not a union matter. So you find like those from Tanganyika, there are good services cannot get from Zanzibar, but Zanzibaris can access everything. For them, in 1964, they were much worried about security. And that's where they decided to give the cake, which now they ate and want to remain with it.
All right. Okay.
If you could say something.
And let us also come in. Otherwise, it will be a discussion of only two people.
Professor Bakari, come in with your point of view.
First of all, the thread. Your thread is shorter. The thread is longer.
Okay.
It starts with 1984.
Yes.
How was it called? Hali ya hewa. Uchafuko wa hali ya hewa Zanzibar. Yeah. Then were you born? You were not. No.
1985.
That's when it started with Jumbe. Jumbe wanted to change, to modify the constitution so that it becomes a three-government system. It was that time. That's why it cost him even his presidency. So the feeling in Zanzibar that we are not autonomous enough started even longer.
Okay. And is she persist?
It's very consistent. Very consistent. So the thread starts there.
Yes.
It becomes with the Nyalali Commission. Yesterday, Baregu said we had a very long debate on Zanzibar. Also during the Nyalali Commission, the Zanzibar issue, particularly the structure.
You were in that commission?
Yes, it had a very long debate. Three-government structure was, for specific reasons, and they were given there. Because I was in the draft, the committee that drafted the report.
All right.
I was part of it. So the feeling that if we have a three-government system, both Tanganyika and Zanzibar will be more autonomous, without threatening the union itself. The union will be stronger, but with the more autonomous partners.
Okay. But
the
other partner, because the union is the Tanganyika and
Zanzibar.
Where is the other part?
You have the union government,
yes.
You have Tanganyika government and the Zanzibar government.
All right. Now, I have 10 minutes. I'm sorry, I know you wanted to come in, you are called to come in. But
a very important one. There are these two
words. All of them have been important.
Technical
all of them
words.
are important, okay?
Autonomous and sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
That's where we mix up the issues. The union government will have to remain sovereign, and the two governments could be semi-autonomous.
Which
but now,
government now?
The Tanganyikan one.
Okay, which doesn't exist.
It's there. It's there.
We can't see it. That's when you have a problem. I think the young man wanted to come in. And I think you raised this at the Udasa debate in the University of Dar es Salaam. Yeah. That when you are asking the contribution of the Zanzibaris, the idea is the two parts will contribute to the functioning of the union. Mm-hmm. Now there is Zanzibar. It's there. It's functioning. Where is the other part? Where is the other part?
That's a pertinent question.
I know that's a president's question. Then maybe we need to wind up. So, I know. Professor, I'll start with you. So with all these issues, and maturity, much stronger, 3 phases you referred to, what is the ultimate solution for this union, which we all agree? We need it, it has to survive, and it will survive. Now, to make it survive even more and benefit all the Zanzibaris and all the Tanganyikans, what will be the final solution? Very quickly.
Only the final solution is we move into a three-government system. We restructure the structure of the
So it's the structure.
This is the basis, because there are many other issues,
Yes.
many other issues.
Yes.
Because we are talking of the success of the union. The surface is very beautiful, but the inside, we had the government of national unity. Where is it now? Why has it collapsed? These are issues.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, structure.
There are many issues inside the content of the union. You have the surface of the union and the content of the union.
Okay.
But to solve the problem, the content of the union, then restructuring, I think, is very necessary.
And that's what you referred to as the third stage.
The third
The
stage,
consolidation and the improvement.
and in fact, Tanzanians, we shall remain behind with this conservatism of not changing. The constitution, I think he has many.
Yes, yes.
The constitution which the people participated last 19 it was 2014.
15. That's the one you're back.
That was for Tanzania, not only for the union, but for Tanzania as a whole. A breakthrough for our prosperity.
Okay.
People are now talking about the African Renaissance. We are still behind, being still conservative with the old structures. Let us move forward.
All right. Young man,
Yes.
quickly, what do you think is the solution?
There's
The status quo, as I think I heard you say?
Yes.
Or we move?
I'm a staunch believer of the status quo. I want to make that very clear to everybody.
Yes.
And I also mentioned that every man-made system will always have issues.
Okay.
And it should be noted that we are solving these issues as time goes on.
Yes.
For example, we had a number of union issues. Now just 3 are left. So it should also be noted that the solution of one issue could give rise to 1 or 2 more.
Okay.
So having a 3-tiered union,
Yes.
as our professor here mentioned, will create other issues still. This is not the holy grail, having a 3-tiered union. It's not the solution to all of our problems.
Neither is the two-tier government.
Yes, what we need to do is the following: educate the masses. I've realized that a number of people are not aware of what exactly is going on.
Okay.
Tanzanians, as Tanzanians, we need to be ready to learn more.
Not to change.
To learn more.
And not
through
to change.
learning, then a permanent change happens. So we need to learn more on what it takes or what is involved in the union.
All right.
And we will find out that this is a wonderful thing that we're having.
Absolutely. Thank you. You were born in the union. Professor, very quickly.
Okay, thank you. One, putting the record straight, you had 2 sovereign states uniting, Tanganyika and Zanzibar. The cost of sovereignty is very high. It's not 3%, it's not 5.5%. There is no country on earth which could surrender its sovereignty in exchange for dividend of 3 or 4.5%.
Okay.
Sovereignty is a resource.
Yes.
Very precious resource. They are very small countries. They are effectively using their sovereignty for their development.
Yes.
2, a wise decision is not something that reflects one's preference. It's not about one's preference. We heard yesterday from the discussion there, Professor Balile is a staunch believer of one government. And Mzee Warioba is a staunch believer of 2 governments. But the wise decision in the one which is feasible. One
Which is?
government is not feasible. It's not acceptable by the other side. It is highly desired by one side, but it's not accepted by the other side. Two governments, it has demonstrated through history. There is experience already. There is evidence from history that it's not tenable. You know, it's not something that is acceptable by the others. And therefore, one that could be negotiated, could be bargained and compromised, is the three government structure. Depends on what kind of structure you are going to, but in terms of which issues should go into the union and which issues should be left to these constituent parts. So I would think that if we don't solve the underlying cause of the problem by simply solving the symptoms of the problem, we'll always continue with problems.
Yeah. Although fundamentally,
now we are hearing a language that there are only three problems left. So if that's the case, then we are done.
Yeah.
If we have only three problems,
yeah.
then that means we don't have a problem anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the problems that are remaining are not significant.
Okay. Very quickly then, but fundamentally, Tanzanians from both sides of the union want the union.
Yes.
Our concern and our problem is the structure. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So we must change, as Professor says. We shouldn't be conservative. Very quickly.
Yes, as it is said,
yes,
that justice should be done and is seen to be done.
Okay.
So Tanganyika should be seen to surrender its sovereignty. And how Tanganyika can be seen is to form a three-tier government, where Zanzibar will see Tanganyika running its own affairs, and Tanganyika will see Zanzibar running its own affairs in a semi-autonomous capacity with the sovereignty at the union government. Then both sides won't be looking at each other as if someone is a big brother. And to reach that point properly, we need to have freedom to discuss union matters in its totality, without hiding anything, without fear nor favor. Short of that, we'll continue with drip irrigation, where somebody is given life-supporting drip, but it's not a cure.
All right. Professor, I give you the benefit of the doubt. One simple question, maybe to be benefit. What is so anathema for us to have a referendum, both sides, and let the people say they want three government or two government or one government? Is there a problem here? Why we can't?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful suggestion. Because now the thing is static. We are still talking about reviving the discussion of the constitution,
yes.
But reviving how? Some say the katiba pendekezwa. Others say they were Yoba constitution.
Draft constitution.
So you have now this we have a stagnation of I think the referendum can do.
All right. Do you agree referendum? We need a referendum?
Yeah.
Professor?
Yeah, a referendum is something very good, but it has to be preceded by a very kind of rigorous analysis.
All right.
That's why when the issue is brought to the people,
yes.
the people should actually
They should understand it.
Exactly.
Thank you. Referendum?
I'm afraid we may end up opening the Pandora's box.
All right. So, my panelists, that's it now. We have to close. In fact, I'm sure I've exceeded 1 or 2 minutes, and my director is concerned about it. Well, thank you very much for your analysis of the union status as it reaches 53 years. 53 years is a long way. We've come a long way. You were born in 84, which means if a number of years. 85?
85.
A number of years after the union was born. So you are thinking what you do is within the union. You don't see anything different. You haven't seen anything different. We have seen many, but at least Professor and I don't know about Professor Bakari. We were under the British rule, and then we went on to independence, and then went on to the union. So your thinking and my thinking may be different, but it could be still valuable. Well, thank you very much, my panelists, for your views. Viewers, you heard the views of my 4 panelists here. Very interesting, as well as challenging. But we all agree that maybe we need problem now is the structure. So, Tanzania celebrated 53 years of the union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar at national level for the first time in Dodoma with fanfare and parade, and we saw it on TV. It was a befitting mark of the importance of a union at 53. Obviously, the union has gone through a series of issues which have been resolved, and we are told only 3 are left. But for a few remain to be addressed, like the 3 of us said, that the ministers are saying. The editorial in Government English Daily newspaper says, address union gaps. We are but two sides of the one coin. We are. It has been demonstrated here. We are the same people. Are we? That's my other question. It goes on to suggest that if we shall resolve what keeps us apart, assuming we are apart, we shall have paid a great homage to the late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who opposed and fought such drawbacks from the very beginning, as well as Sheikh Aman Abedi Karume. Certainly, after 53 years, we all expect that what brought us together is as valuable today as it was in 1964, as my panel says, as well as Professor Mpangala said, but we are in the third stage of consolidation. Let us try our level best to keep us together, thus avoiding us drifting apart. That's all we have for you today. Until next Sunday at the same time, and on Thursday at 15 hours for the repeat program. On behalf of my panel, Professor Mpangala, Mohammad Nuhu, Professor Mohammad Bakari, Daudi Deo Balile, and my TVC Television Center crew. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.